Every day, we're looking for ways that we can connect that data together, make sure we're supporting logistics. It forces us to look at the technology as an ecosystem, not an application. That's ultimately when the magic happens.
Hello, I'm Kate Galloway, Director of Brand and Marketing Communications for EverAg. Welcome to Ag Smarter Sessions, where we sit down with thought leaders, forward movers, and problem solvers to explore real-world challenges, intelligent solutions, and what's next for the future of food and agriculture. Today, we're joined by Doug Clingman, Chief Technology Officer at Central Valley Ag Cooperative, one of the Midwest's strongest and most forward-thinking cooperatives. Based in York, Nebraska, CVA serves farmers across Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas with innovative agronomy, feed, energy, and grain solutions. In his role, Doug leads the cooperative's digital transformation, driving efficiency, connectivity, and innovation across every part of the business. A U.S. Army veteran with more than 18 years of service, Doug brings both discipline and vision to how technology can advance agriculture and strengthen the cooperative model for the future. Doug, we are so glad to have you here. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the time. It's nice to have appreciate the opportunity to leverage your platform to speak a little bit about what I'm passionate about.
So, for those who may not be familiar, can you give us a quick snapshot of Central Valley Ag, who you serve, and the role you play in the whole agriculture ecosystem?
CVA, Central Valley Ag. I mean, we're a farmer-owned cooperative. We're charged with giving or providing a grower everything they need for their operation. That's honestly why we operate across all the umbrellas: energy, feed, agronomy, and grain. My role here is really just to make sure the technology quietly supports the mission. At the end of the day, my job and my team's job is to connect the people with the data and the decisions, and never replace the relationship we have with the grower in their operation.
And you guys serve both row crop and livestock producers across multiple areas, so grain, feed, agronomy, and energy. How does that diversity shape the way that you think about your technology solutions?
Honestly, it's our biggest challenge, but it's our biggest opportunity. The data cannot reside in silos. Every day, we're looking for ways that we can connect that data together, make sure we're supporting logistics, and it forces us to look at the technology as an ecosystem, not an application. And those applications change quite often. When we think of it as an ecosystem, that's ultimately when the magic happens. That's when we see a complete picture of a member's operation and the value we aim to add to their operation.
So, you recently launched some drone spraying services. So, what drove that decision, and how do you see that technology evolving for your members?
We didn't necessarily start drone spraying because it was trendy. It's more of the goal that it solves a real problem, whether it be labor, specific timing, and then honestly the precision. It's about being able to treat that acre in the exact spot that it needs it at the right time it needs it, but altogether with better safety as well as accuracy. Overall, we see this blending into a broader automation goal where we're connecting scouting data together with prescriptions and flight operations all into one experience, one loop.
How are you seeing the adoption of that from your members?
It's really kind of varies. There's a certain segment that is obviously very appeased to it, interested in it, sees the value in it, and honestly is willing to experiment a little bit.
Mhm.
In ag, we're pretty tried and true methods, so it's uncomfortable sometimes to try some new methods. You don't get many chances to win. It varies, and it's really with the focus is on the segments that it works.
That makes sense completely. And you guys have also built that integrated platform, right? For that, like you mentioned, that scouting, nutrient management, analytics, and all that. So how are you balancing, those people that do adopt it, that sort of sophistication with keeping it user friendly? What do you do to help people understand the value and how to use it best?
Every day is education. Honestly, every single day is education, and exposing those bleeding edge, leading edge growers that are interested, that want to try to add efficiencies to their operations, and then telling the stories where there was wins. But also explaining, we're transparent, we're farmer owned, and that relationship's important to us. So we have to tell sometimes where the gaps are yet. I'd probably say it's all education. It's experimentation and education.
I've also seen that double-edged sword with some farmers where they want to remain competitive, but they also want to know what their neighbor might be doing. And, so there's an element of like sharing, but also like, I want to keep some of my secrets. What do you think are some of the biggest risks and also some of the biggest opportunities for farmers, say, over the next decade or so?
Yeah, I think we've seen it already in ag. This is a saying that I love to say all the time is we don't want to be data rich and decision poor. So, big data is the big buzzword, and there's a massive amount of it, but none of it has any value unless I can arm somebody with the ability to make a decision faster and more accurately. So that's a big risk. I think more often than not, we are prone, and I'm pointing at myself because I'm a technologist. We start with the data and the data and the data. I think the most effective approaches we have had, and the wins that I've had, is when you start with the question and you go backwards towards the data,
Mhm.
and that allows us to be decision rich and data middle of the road.
So, have you seen things move in the right direction, say in the past few years, where you're sort of mitigating that risk a little bit and looking more towards sort of that opportunity side where everything does make sense and is informational and usable, I guess?
I would tell you it has ramped up.
Yeah.
Um, if I look at 5 years ago, we were a whole lot. We being technology providers and or technologists within the business have been very siloed and singular focused on point solutions or point opportunities. Today, we are 10x more open. The business is more technology savvy. I think about just in general technology, there's more apps built this year than the last 20 combined. So it's definitely ramping up. We got a long ways to go. It's a journey as technology changes, but it's getting there.
You're a tech guy, you're probably looking at other industries outside of agriculture. What's a technology trend you think is will eventually show up in farming and might change the game a little bit?
Yeah, I'd probably tell you the big one that I see the need and starting to creep up is logistics and automation. The technology that lets us, you know, how does my Amazon packages get to my house in the most effective manner? I think as a huge opportunity in a federated cooperative system in ag. Whether we're talking about crop inputs, seed, grain, energy. Logistics and automation is probably the big one that we've got a long ways to go. We're in rural America. Labor's hurting everywhere, but in rural America, it's definitely hurting. And we've got to drive those dirty jobs and the jobs that nobody wants to do out of what we do every day. And that can only be done through automation.
So let's talk about AI. Of course, that's a big thing. You can't talk technology these days without talking AI. So these tools, they're sort of evolving quickly and, but the adoption and maybe a little bit lagging behind. What do you think it's going to take to get it to be truly a daily part of decision making for producers and farmers?
The approach that we have, I mean, we believe it that AI will not replace people, but people that use AI to make them more productive and more efficient will replace those that don't. That is our approach. We believe, and I firmly believe that we'll all have a companion of varying forms and varying functions that will help me be more productive. And if we can cast that to the grower to help them be more productive, I think that's probably the North Star. As a cooperative in the supply chain and an ag retailer, I mean, we have to use it ourselves. But until we really get the grower to use it as well, I think it's marginally adding value to the supply chain in ag.
This has been a really cool conversation. We always end this because we are on Ag Smarter sessions. What does Ag Smarter mean to you?
First off, I'd say we can't ever forget how we got here. I mean, leading a bunch of technology team members, I think it's really key understanding that we don't own the technology. We're the custodian of it. And as the custodian, we have to make sure it's adding value to their operation. We have to do it silently. And we have to be able to teach and educate continuously. So it's not forgetting where we came from and Lifelong learning, honestly. I think back to one of CVA's core values is lifelong learning.